The thermometer read 18 below when I stepped outside at 5:15 that January morning. Frozen gravel crunched under my boots like breaking glass. My diesel wouldn't turn over, frost on the windshield thick as paper, but the barn light was already on. Someone else had beaten me to it. 40 years I'd never missed dawn check, not once. I walked across the yard, breath freezing in my lungs. Tyler opened the barn door before I reached it, stood there blocking the frame, backlit by the work lights I'd installed. 50 head of cattle behind him, waiting to be fed. Not your barn anymore, old man. I tried the handle. New padlock. My key didn't fit. Diane's silhouette appeared in the kitchen window. Watched, turned away. Headlights swept past on the county road, neighbors heading to town. They'd seen it. Ray Hollister locked out of his own place. That's when I realized this wasn't about a lock. It was war. 3 weeks earlier, things had looked different. Not good exactly, just manageable. I'd been out since dawn fixing the fence line Tyler promised to handle. January wind cut through my coat like it had a personal grudge. The wire was old, rusted through in 3 places. Cattle don't respect a fence they can see through. I'd asked him twice to replace it, once in November, again after Christmas. He'd nodded both times, said he'd get to it. The sun was high by the time I finished. My hands smelled like rust and old leather from my work gloves. I could hear the cattle moving closer to the repaired section, testing it with their weight. Tyler's truck sat in the driveway when I got back to the house. Still there at 10:30 in the morning, I knocked the mud off my boots and went inside. Diane had the griddle going. The whole kitchen smelled like butter and cinnamon. French toast, Tyler's favorite. She looked up when I came in, smiled that distracted smile she'd been wearing for months. "Coffee's fresh," she said. Tyler was at the table in his bathrobe. Not pajamas, an actual bathrobe, like he was staying at some resort. He had his phone out, scrolling with his thumb. Didn't look up when I sat down. "Fence is done," I said. Diane set a plate in front of Tyler. 3 thick slices, powdered sugar, strawberries on top. She'd gone to town for those strawberries. January strawberries cost a fortune. "Tyler, honey, your breakfast is ready." He grunted, put the phone down long enough to take a bite. I poured my own coffee. The pot rattled against the mug. My hands were still cold from the fence work. "Thought you were going to handle that fence," I said, kept my voice level. Tyler looked at me like I'd interrupted something important. "Been busy." "Busy with what?" "Stuff." He went back to his phone. Diane touched my shoulder as she passed. Gentle, warning. "Ray, he's getting his life together. Give him time." I didn't ask what that meant. Should have. 2 days later, Buck called me down to the feed store, said he needed to talk. The bell over the door jangled when I walked in, same bell that had been there since 1982. Buck was behind the counter, and his face told me this wasn't a social call. The store smelled like fertilizer and old coffee. Radio was on low, playing the farm report. Corn prices down again. "Got something to show you," Buck said. He pulled out a ledger, the kind he kept for store credit, flipped it open to a page with Tyler's name at the top. $800. "Tools," Buck said. "Ordered them special. DeWalt drill set, compound miter saw, pneumatic nailer. Said he was doing work on your place. Signed your name to the account." My jaw tightened. "He picked them up?" 2 months ago. I looked around the store. Didn't see any new tool section. "Where are they?" Buck's expression went hard. "That's the thing, Ray. My nephew's over in Billings. Saw them for sale on Craigslist. Still in the boxes. Same serial numbers I recorded." The radio crackled. Someone was selling feeder calves over in Glendive. "You're sure?" "Called the buyer. Said some young guy sold them, needed cash fast. Gave him half what they were worth." Buck closed the ledger. "Ray, I know Tyler's Diane's boy, but I'll pay the tab." "That's not why I'm telling you this." Buck leaned on the counter. The wood was worn smooth from 60 years of elbows and forearms. "Ray, when's the last time you checked your bank account?" The bell jangled again. Cal Porter came in, stamping snow off his boots. We both went quiet. "Gentlemen," Cal said. He was the closest thing we had to a lawyer in town. Handled wills, land transfers, the occasional dispute. Buck nodded at him, waited until he'd moved toward the back to look at fence posts. I kept my voice low. "What are you saying, Buck?" "I'm saying a man who'll steal tools and sell them will steal other things." He tapped the counter. "And I'm saying Diane's been coming in here with Tyler more and more. Buying things, expensive things, always says you approved it." "Like what?" "Like $1,000 in lumber that never got delivered to your place. Like a new compressor Tyler said he needed for ranch work." Buck's eyes were serious. marine serious, the kind of look he'd had in Da Nang when something was wrong. Ray, I kept my mouth shut because it's family business, but that boy's bleeding you, and either Diane knows, or she doesn't want to know. I stood there smelling old coffee and fertilizer while the radio talked about weather patterns. My hands weren't cold anymore. They were shaking. Buck leaned across the counter, voice dropping even lower. Ray, when's the last time you checked your bank account? I checked the account that night from Buck's computer in the back office. He'd let me use it while he closed up the store. The space heater rattled in the corner, barely keeping the cold at bay. The screen loaded slow, rural internet. When the numbers came up, I had to read them twice. Joint account $238.47, should have been $34,000. Our operating fund, money for spring seed, fuel, vet bills. I clicked through the statements. My hands left sweat marks on Buck's mouse, withdrawals going back 6 months. Small at first, 300 here, 500 there, then bigger, 2,000, 3,000. The charges showed up as cash advances, online transfers, stores I'd never been to, gaming equipment, designer clothes, DoorDash orders twice a day, every single one approved by Diane's login. Buck came back with 2 cups of coffee, set one next to me. The smell was bitter, burnt from sitting on the burner too long. How bad? He asked. 34,000. My voice sounded far away. Gone. He didn't say anything, just stood there while I clicked through more screens. Then I saw the loan documents. Home equity line of credit, $47,000, approved 3 weeks ago, collateral, the ranch. Diane's signature at the bottom. But the handwriting on the application wasn't hers. I'd seen her writing for 4 years. This was different. Looser, hurried. The address section had spelling errors Diane would never make. That's not, I started. I know, Buck said quietly. I called the bank, got a recording, tried Diane's cell, straight to voicemail. Tried the house line. It rang 8 times before she picked up. Ray. Her voice was cold, distant. Diane, we need to talk about... No, we don't. Background noise. Tyler's voice too low to make out words. I know what you're going to say, and I don't want to hear it. There's money missing, a lot of money. Tyler explained everything. He's been managing the accounts because you were too busy with the ranch to notice we were falling behind. My throat went tight. Falling behind? We had, past tense. Her voice got harder. Ray, I'm done with this conversation. Tyler says you've been hostile toward him, aggressive. He showed me the bruises. What bruises? I never touched. The line went dead. I sat there with the phone in my hand. Buck was watching me with that same expression he'd had when our patrol got ambushed outside Hugh City. The look that said everything just went sideways. She hung up on me. Buck pulled up a chair, the metal legs scraped against concrete. You got somewhere to stay tonight? What? Ray, if Diane's believing Tyler over you, if there's talk about bruises and aggression... He shook his head. You can't go back there. Not tonight. That's my house. Your house. Her signature on a $47,000 loan. Buck's voice was gentle but firm. You go back there angry, try to confront them, and things get loud. Someone calls the sheriff, and you're the one who ends up in trouble. The heater rattled. Outside, wind howled against the building. The weather report had called for a polar vortex, 20 below by midnight, 30 below with wind chill. I'm not leaving my cattle. Tyler can feed cattle. Tyler doesn't know which end of a cow eats. Buck pulled out his phone, started texting. I'm calling in some favors, getting you a place to stay. Tomorrow, first thing, we call Cal Porter, get a lawyer involved before this gets worse. It's already worse. No. Buck looked at me hard. It's not, but it's about to be. The next morning, I drove to the ranch at 5:15. Habit. The diesel finally started after I let it warm up. Frost on the windshield was so thick I had to scrape it with a credit card. That's when I found out about the locks. Tyler opened the barn door before I could reach it, stood there in my work coat, my gloves, holding my favorite coffee mug, the one my first wife gave me. Not your barn anymore, old man. The padlock was new, chrome, heavy duty. My key didn't fit. Behind him, I could hear the cattle, restless, waiting for feed. Tyler, move aside. No, he smiled. Mom said you're not welcome here until you apologize, to both of us. This is my property. Mom's on the deed, and Mom says no. He took a sip from my mug. Maybe you should have been nicer. Headlights swept past on the county road. The school bus, then Martha Henderson's truck heading to her job at the diner. They'd both seen me standing there, locked out. I turned toward the house. Diane was at the kitchen window. Our eyes met for just a second. Then she pulled the curtain closed. The wind picked up. 20 below. The kind of cold that kills cattle if they're not fed. The kind that gets into your bones and doesn't leave. I stood in my own driveway with nowhere to go. Tyler held up something, a photo. Even from 10 feet away, I recognized it. The baby picture Diane kept in her wallet. Her son at maybe 2 years old, chubby cheeks, bright blue eyes. "See?" Tyler called out. "I belong here. You don't." He went back inside the barn, slammed the door. I stood there until my hands went numb. Then I got back in my truck and drove to Buck's. The loan officer called at 8:30. I was in Buck's back room trying to stop shaking from cold and rage. "Mr. Hollister, this is Janet Rodriguez from First Mountain Bank. I'm calling about your home equity application." I didn't apply for anything. Pause. "Sir, we have your wife's signature. It's notarized. The funds were already dispersed 3 weeks ago." "To who?" I can't discuss account details without proper authorization, but the co-applicant was listed as Tyler Brennan. "Your stepson?" My vision went blurry. "How much?" $47,000, as approved. "Mr. Hollister, is there a problem? Because if you're disputing your wife's authorization, you'll need to file a formal complaint and we'll need evidence of fraud or forgery. Her signature's real, but she didn't fill out that application. Sir, the notary witnessed her signature. Everything is legally binding. Without proof of forgery in the application itself, and given that Mrs. Hollister is a co-owner of the property," she sighed, "you have no standing to contest this loan." The line went quiet, except for typing. "Mr. Hollister, your wife approved everything. Her signature's notarized. If you have concerns about how the funds were used, that's a matter between you and your spouse." I hung up. Buck was standing in the doorway. He'd heard. "Tyler's not just some punk kid," I said. My voice sounded hollow. "This is organized. The timing, the amounts, the legal coverage. Someone taught him this." Buck sat down across from me. "What are you thinking?" "I'm thinking," I said slowly, "that I don't know who Tyler really is." The bank papers were still on the screen. Diane's signature, Tyler's name as co-applicant, $47,000, gone. The loan officer had said one thing that kept echoing. Co-applicant, Tyler Brennan, not Tyler Hollister. Not even Tyler with Diane's maiden name, Brennan. The name from Diane's first marriage. The name of the boy she'd adopted 17 years ago after her husband died. I pulled out my phone, opened the browser, typed in a search. Buck watched over my shoulder. "What are you looking for?" "Something," I said. "Anything." And because a boy who steals tools, drains bank accounts, and forges loan applications isn't just troubled. He's something worse. Buck made a phone call while I sat there staring at search results that went nowhere. Tyler Brennan. Too common a name. Thousands of hits. He hung up, pulled out his wallet, started counting bills onto the desk. "What are you doing?" I asked. "What Marines do." He kept counting. 20s, 50s, hundreds. "We don't leave our guys behind. Not in Da Nang, not in Millbrook." The stack grew. $5,000 in cash. "Buck, I can't." "You can. You will." He pushed the money toward me. The bills smelled like the old safe in his office, metal and dust and time. "No paperwork, no interest. You pay me back when this is over. If it's ever over. It will be." He sat back down. The chair creaked under his weight. "But Ray, there's something else. Something I heard." I waited. "Your grazing permit. The renewal you filed in November? What about it?" "Denied, as of last week." Buck pulled up something on his computer. "Environmental complaint. Someone filed a report saying you've been overgrazing, damaging riparian areas, polluting the creek." My jaw clenched. That's horseshit. I've been on that land 40 years. Creek's cleaner now than when I started. I know, but the complaint was detailed. Specific coordinates, photos, timestamps. Buck turned the screen toward me. Filed by someone who knows the property real well. The complaint form loaded. I scanned down to the signature line. Tyler Brennan. Son of a bitch. "It's scorched earth, Ray." Buck's voice was hard. "He's not just stealing from you, he's making sure you can't recover. No grazing permit means you can't run cattle on federal land. That's 60% of your operation." The space heater kicked on again. Warm air that didn't reach me. "Without that permit, I'll have to sell half the herd by spring. Can't sustain them on private pasture alone." "That's the point." Buck closed the laptop. He wants you broke. Desperate. So, when Diane suggests selling the ranch and moving to the city with her boy, you've got no choice. The pieces were falling into place. A plan, methodical, cruel. I need a lawyer, I said. Already called Cal. He's expecting you at 9. Cal Porter's office was above the pharmacy. The stairs creaked like they'd been doing it for 100 years. The whole building smelled like old paper and the drugstore coffee they sold downstairs. Cal was waiting. He'd spread papers across his desk, already working. Buck filled me in, he said, gestured to a chair. Sit. I sat. The leather was cracked, comfortable. Cal had been practicing law here since before I came back from Vietnam. If anyone could help, it was him. First question, Cal said. Do you want to save the marriage or save the ranch? I want the truth. He nodded, appreciated that. Good, because from what Buck told me, this isn't about a troubled kid. This is fraud. He pulled out Diane's adoption papers. I'd seen them before, years ago, filed when she took Tyler in after her first husband died. The boy had been 15, troubled, in and out of foster care before Diane got him. Look at this. Cal pointed to a date. Diane filed the adoption in 2008. Tyler's birth date is listed as June 14th, 1993. That makes him 15 at the time. Right. That makes him 32 now. June 2025 would be his 32nd birthday. I frowned. So? Cal pulled out another document. Bank records from the loan application. Tyler's personal information section. This application lists his birth date as June 14th, 1991. That makes him 34. The room went quiet, just the radiator hissing in the corner. 2 years difference, I said slowly. 2 years difference. Cal tapped the papers. Someone's lying about their age. Either the adoption records are wrong or the bank application is wrong. And Ray, I've never seen adoption records with incorrect birth dates. The state checks those things. Birth certificates, social security numbers, the whole chain. My heart started pounding. What are you saying? I'm saying Tyler's story doesn't add up. Cal leaned back. His chair squeaked. Diane said he was in rehab in Oregon during his 20s, right? That's why she lost touch with him for those years? That's what she told me. Said he had problems after her husband died. Drugs, alcohol. Went to Oregon for treatment. She thought he was getting better. Where in Oregon? I don't know. She never said. Cal made a note. We need to find out, because if Tyler was really in rehab, there'll be records. Facilities keep files, insurance claims, something. He pulled out another paper. I can file for an emergency hearing. Challenge the loan on grounds of suspected fraud. But Ray, I need leverage. I need proof that Tyler isn't who he says he is. How do I get that? 2 ways. 1. Hire a private investigator. Expensive, but thorough. They can track his history, find gaps, check records. Cal drummed his fingers on the desk, thinking. 2. County records. If Tyler's adoption was filed here, those records are sealed, but the county clerk has access. Dates, documents, cross-references to birth certificates. Can we get those? Not legally, not without a court order, which we won't get without evidence of wrongdoing. He looked at me. You know anyone at the courthouse? I thought about it. Nora Chen works in the clerk's office. I helped her son get a job on the ranch a few years back when the kid was going through rough times. Cal nodded slowly. Nora's good people. Might be worth a conversation, off the record. You're asking me to break the law. I'm asking you to have a conversation with someone who might point you in the right direction. Cal started gathering papers. Ray, this boy has stolen $34,000 from your accounts, secured a $47,000 loan using forged information, and sabotaged your federal grazing rights. That's fraud, forgery, and potentially identity theft if he's lying about who he is. And if I can prove it? Then we bury him. Cal's voice went hard, professional. Criminal charges, restitution, jail time, and Diane will have to face what her boy really is. I stood up. My knees ached. Cold weather and age, but... Do it, I said. File the emergency hearing. I'll talk to Nora. Cal extended his hand. We shook. His grip was firm, steady. One more thing, he said as I reached the door. The birth date discrepancy? If Tyler was really 15 in 2008, and he's actually 34 now, that means he was born in 1991, 2 years before the adoption records say. So? So where was he for those 2 years? Cal's eyes were serious. And who is Tyler Brennan, really? The question hung there. I walked down those creaking stairs with $5,000 in my pocket and a lawyer on my side. For the first time in 2 weeks, I felt something other than helpless. I felt dangerous. Sunday service. I hadn't been to church in 3 weeks, but Cal said I needed to show my face, let people see I wasn't hiding, that I had nothing to be ashamed of. The parking lot was half full when I arrived. Trucks I'd known for decades. The Hendersons' Ford, the Martinez family's Suburban, Buck's beat-up Chevy. I walked in through the side door. The building smelled like old hymnals and the lemon oil they used on the pews. Reverend Tom was at the pulpit, arranging his notes. He looked up when I entered, gave me a nod that could have meant anything. Diane was already seated. Third row, right side, same spot we'd sat together for 4 years. Tyler was next to her, wearing a tie, hair combed. He looked like he'd stepped out of a catalog. Young, clean-cut, respectful. I took a seat in the back. Buck slid in next to me a minute later. "Glad you came," he whispered. The service started. Hymns I'd sung 1,000 times. Words about grace and forgiveness and community. Reverend Tom preached about the prodigal son, about welcoming the lost back into the fold. I wondered if that was intentional. After the sermon, during announcements, Tyler stood up. The whole congregation went quiet. "I just want to say something," Tyler started. His voice was soft, humble. "These past few weeks have been hard on my family, on my mom especially." Diane touched his arm. Her eyes were red. "I know I haven't been the easiest person to deal with. I've made mistakes, a lot of them." He paused, looked down like he was gathering courage. "But Ray, my stepdad, he's been angry with me, and I get it. I do. But some of the things that have been said, the accusations," he trailed off. Let the silence work. "All I want is for us to be a family again. If Ray can find it in his heart to forgive me, to give me another chance, I promise I'll do better. I'll be better." The congregation murmured, sympathetic. Diane was crying now. Tyler looked right at me. "Ray, I'm sorry for whatever I did that hurt you. Can we start over?" Every eye in that church turned to me. Buck's hand gripped my knee. Warning, don't take the bait. I stood up, slow. My boots sounded loud on the old wood floor. "No," I said. The murmur got louder, uncomfortable. "Ray," Reverend Tom started. "No," I said again, louder. "I'm not doing this. Not here. Not like this." I walked out, heard the whispers starting before I even reached the door. Outside, the air was cold, but the sun was out. Fall spring, the kind of day that tricks you into thinking winter's over. Buck caught up with me in the parking lot. "That took guts," he said. "That took stupidity." I leaned against my truck. The metal was cold through my coat. I just made myself look like the asshole. "You look like a man who won't be manipulated." Buck lit a cigarette, offered me one. I shook my head. "Tyler just showed his hand, Ray. That performance, that wasn't for you, that was for them. He's building a narrative. And it's working." The church doors opened. People filed out. Most of them avoided looking at me. The ones who did look had pity in their eyes, or judgment. Reverend Tom made his way over. He was a good man, 66 years old, known him since I came back from the war. "Ray," he said gently, "can we talk?" "Sure." He glanced at Buck. Buck took the hint, walked over to his truck. Reverend Tom put his hands in his pockets. "I know you're going through something difficult. You don't know the half of it. Maybe not, but I know what I see. A family broken, a young man trying to make amends, and a stepfather who won't accept it." My jaw tightened. "Tom, that boy is—" "A boy. Your wife's son." Tom's voice was still gentle, but firm. "Ray, I've known you a long time. You're a good man, fair, honest. But pride is a sin, too. Sometimes a man has to bend, has to forgive, even when it's hard. And if there's nothing to forgive? If I'm the one being wronged?" Tom sighed. "Then prove it. But until you do, all people see Noos is a grown man refusing to reconcile with a kid who's trying. That's not a good look, Ray." He patted my shoulder and walked back toward the church. I stood there while everyone left, watched their trucks pull out of the lot, saw Diane and Tyler drive away together in my old Ford. Buck came back over. "Come on, let's get you some lunch." Cal called that afternoon. I was at Buck's place, staring at a sandwich I couldn't eat. "Ray, we have a problem." My stomach dropped. "What kind?" "I pulled your life insurance policy, the one you set up when you married Diane." "What about it?" The beneficiary was changed. 3 months ago, Tyler Brennan is now the primary, Diane is secondary. The room tilted. That's not, I never. Power of attorney documents were filed at the same time, signed by Diane, giving her authority to make changes to your financial accounts, insurance policies, estate planning. I never signed anything giving her that power. You didn't have to. In Montana, spouses can file for power of attorney in certain circumstances. Medical emergency, mental incompetence, or, Cal paused, if there's documented concern about the other spouse's judgment or behavior. What the hell does that mean? It means Diane filed a statement with the court saying she was concerned about your mental state, your age, your ability to make sound financial decisions. She used the cattle operation's declining profits as evidence, the missed permit renewals, the, and I quote, erratic and aggressive behavior toward family members. I couldn't breathe. When? Filed 6 weeks ago. Approved 2 weeks ago. You would have been notified by mail. The mail. Diane had been getting the mail, bringing it in before I even got back from morning chores. Cal, she's setting me up. She's protecting assets, or thinks she is. Papers rustled on his end. Ray, there's more. I did some digging on the property records. Diane filed a petition to have the ranch reassessed as marital property instead of separate property. Claims you commingled assets, made improvements using joint funds, treated it as a shared investment. That ranch was my first wife's, left to me. It's not marital property. Not if you kept it separate. But, Ray, did you ever use joint account money for repairs, improvements? Did Diane ever pay for anything related to the ranch? I thought back. 4 years of marriage, the new barn roof, the well repair, the fence materials. Some, I admitted, but small things, maintenance. Doesn't matter. Any commingling can support her claim. Cal's voice was heavy. If a judge rules it's marital property, she's entitled to half in a divorce. That's why the power of attorney matters. She can force a sale. My phone buzzed. Text from Diane. We need to talk about the future. I called her. She picked up on the third ring. Ray, her voice was careful, distant. What's this about? Tyler and I have been talking about what's best for everyone. What's best? He thinks we should sell the ranch, move to the city, start fresh somewhere without all these complications. My hand gripped the phone so hard it hurt. Complications. Ray, be honest. The operation is failing. The permit denial, the debt, what debt? The debt Tyler created? Tyler's been managing things, trying to save what you've let slip away. Diane, listen to me. Tyler is my son. Her voice went sharp. And he's right. This ranch is just land, property. It's not worth destroying our family over. Just land? My voice rose. That land is my first wife's legacy, the only thing she left me. You want me to sell it so your boy can have a fresh start in the city? Silence, then quieter. It's just land, Ray. Tyler's my son. She hung up. I sat there with the phone in my hand. Buck was watching me from across the room. How bad? He asked. She wants to sell the ranch, power of attorney, life insurance beneficiary, all changed. I looked at him. This was the plan all along. Get control, drain the accounts, sabotage the operation, then convince her to sell when I'm desperate. And move to the city, Buck said. Where Tyler's friends are, where the money is. The pieces were all there, clear, deliberate. Tyler wasn't just a troubled kid stealing from his family. He was executing a con, and Diane was helping him do it. I spent 3 days thinking about what Cal had said, about proof, about fighting back, about what happened when you went to war with the people you loved. The weather shifted. February slid into March. Fall spring came early, warm winds from the west that melted snow into mud. The county road turned to slop. Trucks threw brown spray when they passed. I went to the diner on a Tuesday morning. Diane's car was parked outside. She came here sometimes after church auxiliary meetings. I knew her routine. 4 years of marriage teaches you patterns. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes, watching the window. She was at a corner booth, alone. Coffee in front of her. She wasn't drinking it, just staring at it like the cup held answers. I pulled an envelope from my glove box. I'd been carrying it for 2 days. Inside, a copy of the ranch deed, my first wife's name still on it, transferred to me after her death, and a handwritten note on plain paper. This was Sarah's gift to me. I won't let it be stolen. But I won't let you be homeless either. You can have the equity if you tell me the truth about Tyler. All of it. No more lies. Ray. I got out. Mud sucked at my boots. The air smelled like thaw, wet earth, and last year's grass, warm enough that my breath didn't freeze. Diane saw me through the window. Her face went tight, defensive. I didn't go inside. I walked to her car, old Honda Civic, the one she'd had before we married. I put the envelope under the windshield wiper, made sure it wouldn't blow away. Then I got back in my truck and drove off. In the rearview mirror, I watched her come out, stand there looking at the envelope. She picked it up, read it right there in the parking lot. Her shoulders started shaking. Even from a distance, I could tell she was crying. Buck found me at the feed store that afternoon. I was pricing fence posts I couldn't afford to buy. Nora Chin wants to talk to you, he said quietly. I looked up. About what? Didn't say, but Ray, she came to me specifically, asked if you were in trouble, said she heard things. Nora worked at the county courthouse, clerk's office, records, filing, the bureaucratic machinery that kept the county running. I'd known her for 15 years. Her son Marcus had worked on my ranch 3 summers in a row when the kid was going through a rough patch. Drinking, bad friends. I'd kept him busy, taught him how to work the cattle, paid him fair wages. He'd straightened out. Last I heard, he was managing a hardware store over in Bozeman. Where is she? Said to meet her tonight, 9 o'clock, side door of the courthouse, the one by the parking lot. My stomach tightened. That's after hours. Yeah, Buck said. It is. The courthouse was dark when I pulled up at 8:50. Only a few lights on inside. Security lights in the hallways. The parking lot was empty except for Nora's car, a silver Subaru with a faded bumper sticker about saving the wolves. I waited until 9 exactly, then walked to the side door. It opened before I could knock. Nora stood there in jeans and a fleece jacket. Not her work clothes. She looked nervous. Ray, come in, quick. I stepped inside. The hallway smelled like floor wax and old files. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Appreciate you meeting me, I said. Buck told me what's happening. She locked the door behind us. With Tyler, with Diane, the money. He shouldn't have. He should have. And he did. She walked down the hallway. I followed. Our footsteps echoed on the linoleum. Ray, you helped Marcus when he needed it. Gave him work when everyone else had written him off. He's doing good now. Real good. I owe you. You don't owe me anything. She stopped at a door marked records. Pulled out a key. Maybe, but I'm doing this anyway. The records room was small. File cabinets lined the walls. A computer desk in the corner. The smell of old paper was overwhelming. Nora went to the computer, didn't turn on the overhead light, just the desk lamp. It cast shadows across her face. What you're asking me to do, what Buck says you need, it's illegal. Adoption records are sealed. I could lose my job, maybe face charges. Then don't, I said. I won't ask you to risk that. I'm not asking permission. I'm telling you the cost. Her fingers moved across the keyboard. Sometimes the law needs breaking. That's what my Marcus says. When the law protects the wrong people, good folks have to step outside it. The computer screen glowed. Search fields, database access. Tyler Brennan, she said. Adopted by Diane Brennan in 2008. That right? That's right, she typed, waited. The computer hummed. A file appeared. Here, adoption, finalized July 2008, minor child, age 15, ward of the state prior to adoption, foster care from age 12 to 15 after biological parents lost custody. Why did they lose custody? Doesn't say. Those records are separate, but Ray, she leaned closer to the screen. There's an attachment. Original birth certificate. She clicked. The document loaded. Tyler James Brennan, born June 14, 1993, Seattle, Washington. Mother, Patricia Brennan. Father, unknown. That matches what Diane told me, I said. Hold on. Nora scrolled down. There's a note in the file, added by the caseworker who handled the adoption. She read it out loud. Subject maintains contact with biological mother despite custody termination. Mother incarcerated, Oregon State Penitentiary, fraud and identity theft charges. Caseworker recommends limited contact due to mother's negative influence. My pulse quickened. His mother was in prison for fraud? Yeah. And Ray, Nora clicked something else. There's a flag here, from 2010. What kind of flag? Death certificate, filed with the county. She went pale. Tyler James Brennan, deceased May 2010, motor vehicle accident, pronounced dead at the scene. The room went silent except for the computer's hum and the fluorescent lights buzzing. That can't be right, I said. Tyler's alive. He's at my house right now. Nora looked at me. Her face was serious, scared. Ray, if the real Tyler Brennan died in 2010, then who the hell is living with your wife? The question hung in the stale air of the records room. I thought about the birth date discrepancy Cal had found. 2 years off. I thought about Tyler's story about Oregon rehab, the years Diane lost touch with him. I thought about the baby photo Tyler had held up that morning at the barn. Blue eyes, chubby cheeks. Tyler's eyes were brown. Can you print that? I asked. My voice was hoarse. I can. But Ray, the moment I do, there's a digital trail. The system logs every access, every print job. Do it anyway. She hit print. The machine whirred to life in the corner. Pages started sliding out. Death certificate, birth certificate, adoption records. Nora gathered them, hands shaking. She put them in a manila folder, handed it to me. There's one more thing, she said. If you want to be sure, really sure, you need fingerprints. How do I get those? Sheriff Mackey. He's the only one with access to the federal database, but Ray, he won't run prints without probable cause. He's a good man, but he follows the rules. I'll talk to him. Be careful. Nora walked me to the door, unlocked it. If Tyler finds out you're digging into his past, if he realizes you know... I know, I said. I'll be careful. She touched my arm. Marcus is who he is because of you. Because you gave him a chance when he needed it. I hope this helps you get your life back. I stepped out into the cold night. Mud had started to freeze again. The temperature was dropping. I got in my truck with a folder full of impossible documents. A death certificate for a boy who was supposed to be alive. And the terrible certainty that everything Diane believed about her son was a lie. The rumors started the next day. Small town. Word travels fast. I walked into the feed store Wednesday morning and the counter went quiet. 4 regulars who'd been drinking coffee and talking stopped mid-sentence. They looked at me, then looked away. Buck was restocking shelves in the back. Didn't look up. I poured coffee from the pot. The room smelled like diesel fuel and fertilizer and that particular silence that comes when people have been talking about you. Morning, I said to no one in particular. Mumbled responses. Jim Henderson nodded. That was it. I paid Buck for the coffee. He took my money without meeting my eyes. Outside, rain had started. Cold March rain that turned the mud to soup. It drummed on the truck roof while I sat there trying to understand what just happened. My phone buzzed. Text from Cal. Heard from 3 people this morning. Tyler's been talking. Says you threatened him. Says Diane's scared. Be careful. I drove home. Buck's place. Not home. I didn't have a home anymore. Thursday was worse. I needed grain for the cattle I was boarding at Henderson's place. Jim had agreed to keep 20 head for me until I could figure out the grazing permit situation. When I pulled up to his ranch, he was waiting by the barn. Ray, I'm sorry. I can't help you anymore. What? My wife. She's uncomfortable. With the things she's been hearing. He shifted his weight. Wouldn't look at me directly. About you and Diane. About Tyler. She doesn't want trouble. Jim, we've known each other 30 years. I know, and I'm sorry, but you need to move your cattle by next week. He went back inside. I stood there in the rain. Water ran down my neck, cold and deliberate. That afternoon at the diner, Martha Henderson, Jim's sister, refused to serve me. Just said the grill was closed. It was 2 p.m. The grill wasn't closed. Buck found me in my truck in the parking lot. It's getting bad, he said. I noticed. Tyler's been busy talking to everyone. At church. At the store. Says you've been violent. Says Diane's documenting everything in case she needs a restraining order. Buck's jaw was tight. Angry. He's got half the town thinking you're some kind of abusive husband. And the other half? Doesn't know what to think. But Ray, silence and doubt are almost as bad as belief. That's when Tyler's friend, some kid named Jake who worked at the gas station, walked past, saw us, stopped. That's him, Jake said loudly to his buddy. That's the guy Tyler's talking about. Kicked his own stepson out, threatened him. Buck was out of the truck before I could stop him. You got something to say? Say it to his face. Jake backed up, hands raised. Whoa, old man, just stating facts. Facts? Buck moved closer. You don't know a damn thing about facts. I know Tyler showed us the bruises. I know his mom's scared. I know You know what a liar tells you. Buck's voice was getting louder. That boy's a con artist and you're too stupid to see it. Buck, I said, warning. But Jake was already on his phone, recording. Yeah, get this on camera, Jake said. Threatening a kid. Real nice. I pulled Buck back. Not worth it. We got in the truck, drove away while Jake kept recording. That'll be on Facebook in an hour, Buck muttered. I know. The feed store, the diner, Henderson's Ranch, even the gas station. 40 years of handshakes and good credit and keeping my word. Gone. Sheriff Mackey called a Friday evening. Ray, we need to talk. My stomach dropped. About what? Come to my office. Not the station. My office. 8 o'clock. He hung up. Buck drove me. We didn't talk. The rain had stopped, but everything was wet. The whole world smelled like mud and cold water. Sheriff Mackey's office was in a separate building behind the station. Just him, his desk, files stacked everywhere. He was 60, career law enforcement, fair but by the book. He gestured to a chair. I sat. You've been busy, he said. Sir? Nora Chen, county records, late-night visits. He held up a hand before I could speak. I'm not going to ask her about it, but Ray, if you're investigating Tyler Brennan, you need to do it right. Legal. How'd you know? Because I've been investigating him too. Mackey pulled out a folder. Someone filed a DUI stop report 2 months ago. Tyler, minor offense. We took prints for processing, standard procedure. My heart started pounding. I ran those prints through the system yesterday, after Nora called me, off the record. He opened the folder. Tyler Brennan's prints don't match any Tyler Brennan in the system. Then who? They match Tyler Kovach, born 1991, last known address, Phoenix, Arizona. Mackey slid a printout across the desk. 3 prior convictions, identity theft, fraud, forgery, served 18 months in Arizona, 2 years in Oregon, released in 2022. I stared at the paper. Mugshot. Different hair, little older, but the same face. Tyler Kovach. That's him, I said. That's the man living in my house. Mackey nodded slowly. The real Tyler Brennan, Diane's adopted son, died in 2010, car accident. Death certificate is legitimate, which means the man calling himself Tyler Brennan is an imposter who stole a dead kid's identity. Buck let out a long breath. Jesus Christ. How long has he been doing this? I asked. At least since he got out of prison. Maybe longer. Mackey closed the folder. Ray, this isn't just family drama. This is criminal. Identity theft, fraud, probably forgery on those bank documents. But I need to do this right. I need warrants. I need evidence that'll hold up in court. I've got bank records, loan applications, Nora's records showing the real Tyler died. Good. Get them to me. And Ray, Mackey's voice was serious. Don't confront him. Don't go near him. A man with 3 priors who's running a con this sophisticated, he's dangerous. What about Diane? Does she know? No. She thinks he's her son. Has for 17 years. Mackey rubbed his face. That's going to be hard. When this comes out, when she learns the truth. I know, I said quietly. We sat there in the hum of fluorescent lights. Outside, spring peepers were starting to sing in the ditches, the sound of mud season, of things frozen too long finally thawing. I'll get you the evidence, I said. Everything. Do it fast, before he realizes we're onto him. We shook hands. Buck and I walked back to the truck through puddles that reflected dim stars. You've got him, Buck said. Tyler Kovach, 3 priors, identity theft. You've got him? Yeah, I said, but I didn't feel victorious. I felt sick, because somewhere in my house, Diane was making dinner for a ghost, loving a dead boy's name worn by a con man, and when she found out, it was going to destroy her. I didn't sleep that night. Lay in Buck's guest room staring at the ceiling while rain drummed on the roof. Soft rain now, spring rain, the kind that brings things back to life. But all I could think about was death. Tyler Brennan, dead at 17, 2010, 15 years ago. Diane didn't know, couldn't know. She'd been paying bills, making dinners, loving a man who wore her dead son's name like a stolen coat. Buck knocked on the door around 2 in the morning, came in without waiting for an answer, sat in the chair by the window. You're not sleeping, he said. No. Me neither. He had a bottle of whiskey, 2 glasses, poured without asking. We need to talk about what comes next. I took the glass, didn't drink, just held it. Cal wants to file for an emergency hearing, Monday morning, courthouse conference room. He'll present everything, the death certificate, the fingerprints, the bank fraud. Sheriff Mackey will be there to arrest Tyler on the spot. And Diane? She needs to be there, needs to hear it. Buck took a drink. Ray, you can't protect her from this. I know. Do you? He leaned forward. Because I've been watching you for 3 days. You've got the evidence. You've got law enforcement on your side. You can end this, but you're hesitating. She loved that boy. Her son, the real one. And he's dead. Has been for 15 years. Buck's voice was gentle but firm. Ray, you didn't kill him. Tyler Kovach didn't kill him. It was an accident. But what Kovach did, stealing that boy's identity, manipulating Diane, making her believe her son came back to her, that's evil. That's cruelty. I set the glass down. My hands were shaking. When she finds out, it'll break her. She's already breaking. Buck pulled something from his pocket. A piece of paper. Unfolded it. I went to see Martha Henderson, asked her about Diane, about how she's been these past few weeks. And Martha says Diane's been coming into the diner alone, not with Tyler. She sits in the corner booth and cries. He looked at the paper. Martha said Diane told her something didn't feel right, that some nights she wakes up and looks at Tyler and thinks, I don't know this person. Plant number 3, Diane's subconscious doubt. She knows, I said quietly. Part of her knows. Yeah, but she's too scared to face it. Too guilty. Buck handed me the paper. Martha wrote down what Diane said, word for word. Sometimes I look at old photos, and Tyler's eyes were different, blue, like his father, but I tell myself memory plays tricks. I tell myself he's just older now, changed. My throat tightened. She's been lying to herself, Buck said. For how long? I don't know. But Ray, you exposing the truth isn't cruelty, it's mercy. She gets to stop lying. She gets to stop pretending. She gets to grieve the son she actually lost. And hate me for it. Maybe, for a while, Buck stood up. But the alternative is letting Tyler Kovach keep stealing from her, keep conning her, keep wearing a dead boy's face. Is that better? I didn't answer. Buck left, closed the door quietly. I sat there until dawn, watched gray light creep across the floor, heard birds starting to sing, spring sounds, the world waking up. Cal called at 8 Saturday morning. Emergency hearing is set, Monday, 2 p.m. Judge Morrison, conference room at the courthouse? Papers rustled. Ray, I need you to bring Diane. She won't come. Make her come. Tell her it's about the ranch, about the estate. Tell her whatever you need to tell her, but get her there. Cal paused. And Ray, there's one more thing. I found something in the grazing permit denial. What? The environmental complaint Tyler filed? He used forged county letterhead. Official seal, everything. That's a federal offense. Tampering with government documents. Plant number 4, the permit sabotage payoff. How do you know it's forged? Because the real county environmental office has no record of any site inspection on your property, no photos, no report. Tyler fabricated the entire thing, used letterhead he probably stole from the courthouse. Cal's voice went hard. Ray, this man is more sophisticated than we thought. This isn't petty theft. This is organized fraud. How many years could he get? With 3 priors, if we can prove everything, the identity theft, the bank fraud, the forged documents, 10 to 15, federal prison. I looked out the window, mud everywhere, but green shoots were starting to show in the grass, new growth pushing through dead winter. Do it, I said. File everything. I'll get Diane there. Ray, are you sure? Once this starts, there's no stopping it, no taking it back. I'm sure. I hung up, sat there with my coffee going cold. Buck was right. The truth was mercy, even when it felt like murder. I called Diane that afternoon. She answered on the 5th ring. What do you want, Ray? We need to meet, Monday, 2 p.m., Cal's office. I'm not discussing the ranch with you. It's not about the ranch, it's about Tyler. I kept my voice steady. There are things you need to know, legal things, things that affect both of you. Silence. Then, what kind of things? Things I can't discuss on the phone. Diane, please, just come. Hear what Cal has to say. If you still want to sell the ranch after, I won't fight it. More silence. I could hear Tyler in the background, asking who was on the phone. Fine, she said finally. 2 p.m. Monday. But Ray, this is the last time. After this, we're done. You understand? I understand. She hung up. I sat on Buck's porch in the cold spring air. The sun was out, but it didn't feel warm yet. The mud was drying in patches. Soon it would be planting season. Soon everything frozen would thaw. And Diane would learn that her son died 15 years ago while she was loving an imposter. I prayed she'd forgive me someday for telling her the truth. Monday came with clear skies. The kind of spring day that makes you believe winter's finally done. Temperature in the 50s. Mud drying to dust on the county roads. I arrived at the courthouse early. 1:30. Cal was already in the conference room arranging papers. Sheriff Mackey stood by the window in plain clothes, not uniform, deliberate. Nora Chen was there too, sitting in the corner. She gave me a small nod. The room smelled like burnt coffee and cleaning solution. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. The conference table was old wood, scratched and scarred from decades of legal proceedings. "You ready?" Cal asked. "No." "Good answer." He laid out folders, organized, methodical. "When Diane gets here, let me do the talking. Don't interrupt, don't explain, just let the evidence speak." "And Tyler?" "He'll fight. He'll deny. But Ray, we have everything. Documents, fingerprints, death certificate. He can't talk his way out of this." Sheriff Mackey checked his watch. They should be here soon. At 1:55, I heard voices in the hallway. Diane's, Tyler's. The door opened. Diane came in first. She looked tired, thinner than I remembered. Her eyes were red-rimmed. She saw me, and her face went hard. Tyler followed. He was wearing nice clothes, button-down shirt, clean jeans. He looked confident, relaxed, like this was just an inconvenient meeting. Then he saw Sheriff Mackey. Something flickered across his face. Fast. Fear, maybe. But he recovered quick. "What's he doing here?" Tyler asked, pointed at Mackey. "Sit down," Cal said. Not unkind, just firm. "Both of you." Diane sat. Tyler remained standing. I said sit. Tyler sat. His legs started bouncing under the table. Cal opened the first folder. "Mrs. Hollister, thank you for coming. I know this is difficult. What we're going to discuss today concerns your family, your finances, and your future. I need you to listen carefully." "Ray said this was about legal matters," Diane said. Her voice was defensive. "If this is just another attempt to—" "It's about Tyler." Cal slid a paper across the table. "Bank statement. Starting with this. Joint account belonging to you and Ray. Balance as of January 1st, $34,000. Balance as of March 1st, $238. Diane glanced at it. "Tyler's been managing the accounts. Ray wasn't paying attention to $34,000 in unauthorized withdrawals." Cal's voice stayed level. "Mrs. Hollister, every single withdrawal was made by Tyler. Gaming equipment, clothing, food delivery. None of it approved by Ray." "I approved it," Diane said. "Did you?" Cal slid another paper. "Because according to this transaction log, several of these withdrawals were made while you were at work, while you couldn't have authorized them." Tyler shifted in his chair. "I had permission. Mom said I could—" "Let him finish," Sheriff Mackey said quietly. Cal opened another folder. "Next, home equity loan, $47,000. Application filled out by Tyler Brennan. Signature by Diane Hollister. Notarized." He paused. "But the handwriting on the application doesn't match other samples of Tyler's writing, and several facts on the application are incorrect." "Like what?" Tyler's voice had an edge now. "Like your birth date." Cal pulled out another document. "Application says June 14th, 1991, but your adoption records say June 14th, 1993. Diane frowned. "That's just a mistake. A typo." "Is it?" Cal spread more papers across the table. "Because there are other inconsistencies. Tool purchase charged to Ray's account. Never picked up. Sold on Craigslist. Environmental complaints filed against Ray's grazing permit using forged county letterhead. Plant number 4, the permit payoff." Tyler stood up. "This is harassment, legal harassment. You're making things up to—" "Sit down." Sheriff Mackey's voice cut through the room. Tyler sat. Cal pulled out a photograph, old, faded, the baby picture Diane kept in her wallet. "Mrs. Hollister, is this your son?" Diane's hand went to her mouth. "Yes. Tyler. He was 2 years old." "Notice anything about this photo?" She looked at it. Her eyes were filling with tears. "That's my boy. Look at his eyes." Diane stared. "They're blue, like his father's." Cal turned to Tyler. "What color are your eyes?" Tyler's jaw clenched. Brown. So what? Eye color changes. Not from blue to brown, not genetically. Cal slid the photo closer to Diane. Mrs. Hollister, when did you last see your son, in person, before he came back into your life 4 years ago? Plant number 1, the eye color payoff. Diane's hands were shaking. He left for Oregon when he was 18, for treatment, rehab. I didn't see him for years, 9 years, then he came back. He'd changed, older, but he was still He wasn't. Cal's voice was gentle now, careful. Mrs. Hollister, I need you to look at this document. He slid a paper across the table. Death certificate. Diane picked it up, read it, her face went white. No, she whispered. Tyler James Brennan, born June 14, 1993, died May 17, 2010, motor vehicle accident, pronounced dead at the scene. Cal paused. Mrs. Hollister, your son died 15 years ago. The room went silent, except for the fluorescent hum and air conditioning. Diane stared at the paper. Her lips were moving, but no sound came out. Tyler slammed his fist on the table. This is bullshit. You faked that. We didn't fake anything. Sheriff Mackey stepped forward, pulled out another folder. We ran your fingerprints. From the DUI stop in January, standard procedure. He laid out a printout, mugshot, arrest record. Tyler Kovach, born March 3, 1991, 3 prior convictions, identity theft, fraud, forgery, served time in Arizona and Oregon, released 2022. Diane looked at the mugshot, then at Tyler, then back at the mugshot. This can't be. It is. Mackey's voice was firm. The man sitting next to you is not Tyler Brennan. Tyler Brennan died in 2010. This man stole his identity, used a dead boy's name to con you. Tyler stood up again, started backing toward the door. I don't have to listen to this. Mackey blocked the exit. Yes, you do. Tyler Kovach, you're under arrest for identity theft, fraud, forgery, and tampering with federal documents. You can't. I can. Mackey pulled out handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Tyler tried to push past. Mackey caught his arm, spun him around, cuffed him. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Diane was crying now, silent tears running down her face, staring at the death certificate like it might change if she looked hard enough. Tyler twisted in the cuffs, looked at her. Mom, don't listen to them. They're lying. I'm your son. You know I'm your son. Diane's voice was barely a whisper. What color were your eyes when you were little? Tyler went still. What color? I don't remember. I was a baby. Blue, Diane said. They were blue, like your father's. I used to sing to you and count your fingers and look at those blue eyes. She stood up, walked toward him. Who are you? Tyler's mask finally cracked. Someone who needed a place to go. Someone who found an opportunity. My son died. Diane's voice broke. My boy died 15 years ago, and you let me think he was alive. You let me love you. You let me. She couldn't finish, just stood there shaking. Mackey pulled Tyler toward the door. Let's go. Tyler looked back once, not at Diane, at me. You win, old man. Then he was gone, door closing, footsteps echoing down the hallway. Diane collapsed into a chair, buried her face in her hands, and I stood there, watching her break, knowing I'd done the right thing, knowing it didn't make it hurt any less. Cal drove Diane home. She couldn't stop crying, couldn't speak, just sat there, with that death certificate clutched in her hands. I stayed at the courthouse, watched through the window as Sheriff Mackey led Tyler Kovach, to the patrol car. He didn't fight, didn't struggle, just walked with his head down, wrists cuffed behind his back. Nora touched my shoulder. You did the right thing. Doesn't feel like it. It never does. The arraignment was Tuesday morning. Cal insisted I be there. Said it mattered. Tyler stood before Judge Morrison in an orange jumpsuit. No more button-down shirt. No more confidence. Just a con man caught. The DA laid out the charges. Identity theft, wire fraud, forgery, tampering with federal documents, each one carrying years. Bail is set at $100,000, Judge Morrison said. Tyler didn't have it. Couldn't make it. Would sit in county lockup until trial. His public defender asked for reduction, cited his ties to the community, his family. Judge Morrison looked at the file. Mr. Kovach has 3 prior convictions and has been living under a stolen identity for at least 4 years. Bail stands. Gavel down. Tyler was led away. He looked back once, not at me, at the empty gallery where Diane should have been. She hadn't come. Wednesday afternoon, Diane called. Ray? Her voice was hoarse, raw from crying. Yeah. Cal says I need to sign something, an affidavit, about Tyler, about what I knew. You don't have to, I do. She paused. I could hear her breathing, shaky. Ray, I knew something was wrong. Not at first, but these past few months, maybe even longer. I'd wake up and look at him and think, who is this person? But I couldn't face it. I couldn't face that my boy was gone. So I just kept pretending. Plant number 3, the payoff. Her subconscious doubt finally admitted. Diane, I chose him over you, over the truth, over everything. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. Silence. Just the sound of her crying. Cal says you could press charges against me for the power of attorney, for helping Tyler access the accounts. I'm not going to do that. Why not? Because you were fooled. By a professional. By someone who knew exactly how to manipulate a mother's grief. I looked out the window, spring green everywhere. And because you loved your son, the real one, that's not a crime. More crying, then I need to move out. I can't stay in that house. Take your time. 60 days, that's fair. Ray, I don't deserve 60 days, I said again. And Diane, I hope you find peace, real peace, not the kind built on lies. She hung up. May came with warm winds and new grass. The mud dried. The world turned green. Sheriff Mackey called to say the DA had filed formal charges. Tyler Kovach was looking at 10 to 15 years, federal prison. His public defender was already talking about a plea deal. Diane moved out on a Thursday. Found an apartment across town, left the keys on the kitchen counter. I walked through the house that afternoon, quiet, empty, 4 years of marriage packed into boxes and gone. But it was mine again. Saturday morning, May 10th. I woke at 5 in the morning, out of habit, drove to the ranch, my ranch. The sky was getting light, soft pink and gold. I walked to the barn. The padlock was gone. I'd cut it off with bolt cutters the day Diane moved out. My old key fit the lock I'd installed 40 years ago, the one that had always been there before Tyler changed it. The door swung open. The smell hit me first. Hay and leather and cattle. Home. 50 head moved in their stalls. One of the cows was down, in labor. I'd been checking her for 2 days. I knelt in the straw. The barn was warm. Soft morning light came through the high windows. Birds sang outside. Spring peepers in the ditches. The calf came slow. I helped. Pulled when the cow pushed. Got the little thing out into the world. It lay there steaming in the straw, wet, shaking. Then it lifted its head, tried to stand, fell, tried again, new life. The barn door creaked. Buck stood there holding 2 cups of coffee from his store. Thought I'd find you here, he said. I took the coffee. It smelled perfect, strong and bitter and real. You back where you belong? He asked. I watched the calf finally get to its feet, wobbly, determined. The cow turned to lick it clean. Yeah, I said. I am. We stood there in the barn while the sun came up, the world warming, everything that had been frozen finally thawing. The calf took its first steps, uncertain, but alive. I figured I'd earn the same. 2 weeks later, I sat on the porch at dusk. Spring rain, drums soft on the tin roof. The kind of evening that makes you think about things, about choices and consequences and what you learn when everything falls apart. Diane was in Montana now, living with her sister. We talked once, brief, civil. She was seeing a therapist, learning to grieve a son who'd been dead 15 years while she loved a ghost. Tyler Kovach took a plea deal, 8 years federal prison. He'd be out in 6 with good behavior. I didn't feel victorious about it, just tired. The ranch was mine again, clear title. Cal had helped me restructure the debt, consolidate what Tyler had stolen into something manageable. The grazing permit was reinstated once the forged complaint was exposed. Come June, I'd run cattle on federal land again. Everything had cost something. Money, trust, 4 years of marriage, friendships strained. But I still had the land, still had my name, still had the truth. Buck's truck pulled into the driveway. He came up the steps without asking. We sat together watching rain fall on new grass. The pasture was green. Cattle moved slow through the evening. Calves stayed close to their mothers. You doing okay? Buck asked. Getting there. A man protects what's his, not out of greed, but because legacy matters. When someone tries to take your name, your land, your peace, you fight with truth. Not fists, not rage, just truth. The law's so. But it's got long arms. Tomorrow I'd be at that barn door at 5:30, same as always. 40 years and counting. Some things you don't let anyone take. The rain eased, stars came out, spring peepers sang in the ditches. I'd lost a wife, gained back myself. Fair trade, in the end.